the storm with your heart. Play the storm with your heart.
And one time.
But they didn't do that. Lamar Jackson didn't do that when the team needed him to do that because like you said, there was many times where there was running lanes for him to go to, but he kept holding the ball long in the pocket. He kept holding the ball, trying to find receivers, trying to, see if he can get receivers to get open. But it wasn't the case because that secondary with Snead and with McDuffie are really good. And he should have just, it's okay to go back to old reliable at times, which is rushing the football. And it is what it is, man. Like Lamar, I was very disappointed with him. I'm surprised you didn't mention that play at the end with Isaiah Likely when he had his hand up and he was triple
Yeah,
covered.
yeah, that
Now,
was.
now
Ugh.
I will say this about Lamar: if you're going to throw that ball, make sure that the ball is in an area where only Isaiah Likely can grab it. He underthrew the football, and it should have been at the tail end of the end zone, where Isaiah Likely, he'll have to like reach out and try to grab it, and then he'll probably try to tippy tap toe on the end zone like that. That way, the DBs won't have a chance to try to grab it. But he didn't do that. He didn't do that at all. He just was like, I'm gonna just air it out, expecting Isaiah Likely to turn into 2013 Calvin Johnson and to moss everybody. That's not gonna happen.
I
And
don't even
that
think
was a huge mistake.
Megatron catches that. That was a poorly thrown ball. He threw it
Very
right to his
poorly thrown.
chest.
Exactly.
It was behind
It should
aimed
have
at
went
chest level.
it should have went all the way above instead of to
I,
his chest area. And that's the
exactly.
problem. And see, that frustrated me a lot with Lamar is that his just decision making was totally off that game. And he just looked so nervous. It's like he was trying to prove a point that I can throw from the pocket, that I'm proving these haters wrong. I'm proving these naysayers wrong, that I'm not just this running back playing quarterback, that I actually am one of the elite pocket passers in the league. Well, this game proved the haters right. You're not one of the elite pocket passers in the league, unfortunately. And I'll say this. I feel like we need to have this conversation about this because we do it with point guards in the NBA. There's a difference between who's the best player and who's the best quarter. Well, let me say this. When we're ranking quarterbacks and when we're ranking best players, I feel like there should be a different conversation when it comes to the quarterback position nowadays because a lot of these quarterbacks nowadays, like Lamar, are dual threats, right? And they're not the traditional type of quarterback. And with Lamar, I look at him and I say, we put him in these, oh, he's top two as a QB, he's top three as a QB. And we put like, okay, he's a better player than this person. I feel like we should try to separate the two because when it comes to playing the quarterback position, I look at Lamar and I say, is he a better is he a better quarterback than Joe Burrow? Is he a better quarterback than obviously Mahomes? Is he a better quarterback than whatever you want to name? I'm just saying, like, maybe we should separate the two. Maybe you can say, oh, Lamar is a better player than Joe Burrow, but as a quarterback, he's not better. That's how you feel about that. Trying to separate the best player to like best quarterback.
I don't think that's necessary to separate them because, truth be told, I don't think Lamar's better than Josh Allen. Every time we see Josh Allen in the playoffs, except that one game against the Bengals, where he looked god awful. Josh Allen has put up really good stats. I think he has 24 touchdowns in the playoffs and maybe 4 interceptions or 4 turnovers in general after being a turnover. We see Josh Allen rise in the playoffs year after year, besides a couple 2 games in the past 2 years or so. But we see Lamar in the playoffs, it's like he drops. He's a playoff dropper. I saw a Photoshop of him with the face of Embiid. That's how
I
you
saw
know
that.
it's
I saw
bad.
that too. I
That's
saw
how
that
you
too.
know it's bad.
Yeah,
So I can't put. I know Lamar's 2 times MVP, and everyone like, well, how can you put Josh Allen with 2 times MVP? Are we not watching the playoffs? Would you say Josh Allen was the reason they lost that game against the Chiefs?
Nah, he's not.
I
I wouldn't
wouldn't.
say he's the main reason why they lost. No. But with Lamar, you can argue that he was the main reason why they lost. Even though the play calling was very skeptical, there were times in that game where he could have just took it in his own hands and said, "I'm gonna run the ball" instead of throwing it. And there was running lanes for him to do that, and he elected not to, and that's on him at the end of the day. That's on him. I'll say this because a lot of times, I see people in the comment section, see people in the Twitter to defend certain quarterbacks and whatever. Like, oh, this player on his team made this mistake. He dropped this pass. But I look at what Patrick Mahomes has to go through, and I say to myself, Patrick Mahomes, he had a player fumble the ball in the end zone, and guess what? What did he do? He came through at the end. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm a fold under pressure" like some of these other players do, because the Bills, they got the ball and they didn't score. They didn't take advantage of the situation. While with Mahomes, when a turnover happens on the other team, what does he do? He takes advantage of the situation. And that's what the greats do. That's what Tom Brady does. That's what a lot of these greats do, is that when you make a mistake, when you give them the ball back, they're going to make you pay. And see, that's where I look at when people try to make these excuses for, oh, the reason the Ravens lost is because Zay Flowers fumbled the ball and all the other stuff. Zay Flowers mistakes. Well, Patrick Mahomes has dealt with that too. And he
Did
still
Zay
was able to
Flowers
find
make
a way.
Lamar throw in a triple coverage? And did he also make Lamar hold the ball for 4 seconds and get strip sacked?
Exactly. Or the refs cheated. Now there are times where yes, the refs will intervene. I will say the only team that hasn't in recent memory, the one team that has a good excuse for saying the refs screwed us over was the Saints in 2018. That's the only team I could look to and I say, okay, the refs definitely screwed y'all over. Like that was blatant. Like if you guys, if they call that, if they call that a penalty, they probably would have won that game. But that's the only team I look at and I say, all right, the refs screwed y'all over. But besides that, every game, there's gonna be missed calls. There's gonna be calls that are not going your favor. But at the end of the
See,
day, what are you
the
gonna do
thing
about it?
is, the thing is, I understand they could say, "Oh, the ref," but like, one, you were committing those penalties. I've seen them in trust. I know what lopsided penalties look like in ticky tack
Mm-hmm.
call, but usually you can see correlations between discipline and penalties and discipline with the football. I mean, they had 8 penalties for 95 yards, but they also had 3 turnovers. So they came into the game undisciplined.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm not buying that excuse, honestly. The
Yeah.
Chiefs they had 3 penalties for 30 yards. No turnovers.
Lamar, he just relied solely on the greatness of the defense, and he didn't do his part. He let the defense
Mm,
down. He sold. He choked. He
mm.
gagged at the biggest of moments. And he know he did. He should be ashamed of himself. He let the hood down. He let Baltimore down. He let Baltimore City down. And he should walk in shame for the next 7 months because of it. Because of what he did. Because that defense, they played out of their mind. 0 points in the second half, and you couldn't get a touchdown? Really? That's absurd. There's no excuse behind it. And I wore your high school jersey on the podcast. I believed in you. I wanted you to go to the Super Bowl and go up against the 49ers and shut all these Brock Purdy fans up. I wanted you to get your first ring, but you let everybody down, Lamar. You really did. You're going to get your MVP. You're going to get your second MVP. But what do you show for it? You're just like everybody else. You're the best loser. That's all you are. You're the best loser. You lost in the AFC Championship game. Congratulations. You're just like Josh Allen. You're just like the rest of the quarterbacks. Even the quarterbacks that didn't even make the playoffs. You're just the best loser. You're the runner-up. Congratulations. That's just what it is. Yeah, man.
I saw
But
the
yeah,
writing on the wall, man. I saw
yeah,
it. I was like, yeah.
it's just
And
sad. It's the
Mahomes, he
truth.
was just from a wild play perspective, he wasn't like, oh my gosh, Mahomes is going crazy. He's not throwing 50-yard bomb. But like he was this is probably one of the best games I've seen Mahomes play from a pure quarterback perspective. Like he was making all the right decisions all game. And it was like I was watching Brady 2.0 out there. I said, is this dude gonna miss a throw? Every
Hmm.
down, he's right play. He's scanning the field. I'm like, dude, this dude is insane. I don't know. I'm glad I get to see this level of play. My dad had Joe Montana and John Elway in them. I had Brady and Mahomes to watch it. I ain't like watching Brady, to be fair, but I had Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And it's just so crazy how like Mahomes, he could still impact the game even without scoring in the second half. Like he was able to manage the
And
game
you
and
know what's
making sure
funny
that his team
about
was in
all
a
of
good
that?
position. Yeah.
It seemed like the Chiefs, they weren't really converting them. Like I said, they weren't converting first downs a lot in the second half. Yet they still had 15 minutes of more time of possession than the Ravens,
Mm.
which
Yeah, because
is
that
very
defense was cooking
interesting.
them. The
Yeah.
defense for the Chiefs was just locking stuff down, not allowing Lamar to get any throwing lanes. And Lamar, he was just trying to buy time in the pocket and stuff instead of just trying to rush it. And by the time he was about to, go off and run, it was too late. The pass rush was coming, and so Lamar he was just out of sorts that entire game. Like after that touchdown, which I thought that was the beginning of something special. After that play transpired, he was just out of it, and I was very disappointed in Lamar and the narratives. The next 7, 8 months, matter of fact, the next year when we come back, if they come back to the situation, we're gonna remember what happened, and we're gonna talk about the same thing, and we're gonna look at Lamar like, are you gonna get it done this time?
Cold world, still a cold world. And a couple y'all is cool, but we a little more thorough. Whole time, a little more girls. You know I spit that sick shit and it's still no cure. Hold up, loud packs like I got